Offensive coordinator Brian Callahan joins us in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. And man, the offense is starting to play really, really good. And this just out. Here's a news flash for you. Number 9, guy named Joe Burrow, pretty good. Brian Callahan talks about Joe Burrow, talks about the offensive line, talks about the first Cleveland game, talks about the rematch, talks about what took place against the Kansas City Chiefs. He talks about everything on the offensive side of the football with respect to the Cincinnati Bengals and how they're peaking at the right time. And hopefully the Cincinnati Bengals end up where everybody wants them to end up at the conclusion of the season. It's a steady climb. It's building, 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 and it's going in the right direction. Appreciate you joining us in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. As always, we're in our luxurious studios provided by First Star Logistics, and our guest is a football savant. We've got offensive coordinator Brian Callahan. And Coach, appreciate you carving time. I know it's a busy time of the week, but whenever the Bengals and the Browns tee it up, it's a family affair for the Callahan. So always like to catch up with you before the Bengals Browns. But I'm sorry to say, I love your dad, not like you do, obviously. It's a different kind of love. But we owe your dad. We owe your dad, man. That was not pretty up there in Cleveland, was it?
No, we didn't play very well that night, and disappointing all around, really, from us on offense. Thought we wasted a good defensive effort early in the game, and obviously got away from us as the game went on. But 2 turnovers early is usually going to spell you a tough night against that team and that defense, and they're still really good. I mean, Denzel Ward's back healthy, and they look good in the secondary. They're tackling well. They're rushing well. It's a good unit, and it's an AFC North battle, and we know that every one of those is always going to be a close game and a tough-fought win, and then we're up for the challenge.
It's such a different football team now than what it was then, though. I mean, in terms of so many things. I mean, you hope as a coach and as a player, to have steady improvement, during the course of the season and not have the roller coaster and all that. And this football team from that game on, I mean, you've won 4 in a row, 6 out of 7, 8 out of 10. I mean, it's playing very, very good football. It's a different team, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we're a month better than we were. You know what I mean? We've played in some different styles of games, and I think our team's really started to come together. And especially on offense, we've found some formulas that work for us. And obviously, Joe's playing great football, and we're getting contributions from everybody on the roster on offense. And now that we got Jamar back after another game under his legs, and get him one more shot at another week of practice, and he should feel great. And I'm excited about where we're at, and we're definitely a different team than we were when we faced these guys, a little over a month ago. And we're going to have to play a lot better than we did a month ago, and I think we're up for that challenge.
Jamar, it was so funny after the game. I talked to him in the locker room, in the locker room show post game, and I said, Jamar, it's crazy to me, man. You have a hip injury, and you're told to stay off of it. You can't do any cardio, you can't lift, can't do anything, and yet you come back and play like almost 60 snaps, somewhere in the 50s, and you're hurdling people and you're doing this and that. I said, don't you ever get tired? Oh man, I'm so tired. I was tired during that game because I had guys, helping me with that, and coaches were good to give me a blow. He said, man, I was tired. But that is amazing for him to do what he did, competing at the highest level of the sport with that big month off. I mean, it's hard on anybody. That's just an amazing performance.
Yeah, he's a special player. I think, as we've all come to find out at this point, not much that he does ever surprises me. A lot like Burrow, they're just sort of built a little bit different than the rest of the world, I think. But to see him come out and play the way he did, and make the plays he did, and the play that he almost did was pretty spectacular. And he didn't look rusty to me. He didn't look like he was out of shape, but I certainly know that he wasn't going to be able to go out and play 98% of the snaps like he normally does. And so
right.
Our guys did a good job of spelling him when he needed it, and stepping in when he needed a breather. And he still played a really fantastic game for us.
Joe Burrow is playing at such a high level. I mean, of the things that a quarterback has to do, what is he doing best? or what isn't? There's nothing he's not doing, right? I mean, but what is he doing best?
He's playing the position the exact way that you could ever draw up playing the position. He understands what's required of him each game. He understands the situations of the game. He understands when he can take a risk and not take a risk, when he should scramble and when he shouldn't. He's just making such incredibly smart decisions with the football and with our offense that it's really difficult to say that he's not doing anything at a really, really high level, because everything he does right now is as good as you can possibly play. And when it's time to make a big play, he makes a big play. And when it's time to fit a tight window throw in at the end of the game to ice it, he fits a tight window throw to ice it. When it's time to check the ball down on a 1st and 10 to get 7 yards, he does that. And when it's time to scramble and make a huge play, he does that as well. And he's an incredible leader for our team. Our offense is playing really well because of him. And it's hard to say enough good things about him, but he never puts the ball really in harm's way. He's really smart about taking care of it, and that's a big reason why we've been able to win the games that we have, is that we've not turned the ball over.
Unbelievable. 8 quarters of football, no giveaways. Just an amazing run. The 3rd and 11 play that you're talking about, put it in your best player's hands. You don't want to give Mahomes another shot. If you settle for a field goal, that guy's capable of winning the football game. And you have a guy, number 9, that's capable of closing the football game out right there, and you call the play and he executes it. But man, I called it, almost like a scrant. It was like between a slant and a cross. I mean, it was like, it's like he wait. Oh, that first window. Oh, I'm going to wait a couple more windows. Wow, I couldn't believe how long he waited and put that thing in a thimble. I mean, it was like unbelievable throw. I thought Williams had to think, man, the NFL is brutal. I get great coverage, but the quarterback and the receiver are really good players, man.
Yeah, he put it in a spot that only T could catch it. It was a very tight window throw. It was a very aggressive throw, but that's what the situation required. We knew it was going to be a tight coverage window. It was 3rd and 11. We were trying to win the game, and obviously we want to put it in Joe's hands to do that, and he tends to answer that bell pretty much every time, and he did in that instance. And again, good coverage on their part. It was just 2 guys making a really sensational play when the game required it, and I think that's what makes our team great. They have an ability to rise to the moment and make the play that needs to be made when it's required of them, and they always find a way to do it. And that's a lot of fun to be a part of, a lot of fun for them to play and make those plays. But that's a rare window throw that he made to win that game, and obviously we had to go for it. It was a spot where we could have been conservative and decided to run the ball and try to burn some clock and kick a field goal and go up 6. But same reason we went for it on 4th and 1 down there last year on week whatever it was, 17. Go for it on 4th down. You want to end the game on your terms and not let them have a chance at it, because obviously Patrick Mahomes has won those games a lot of times in his career. So it was the right decision to put it in his hands, and then he made us right.
Sure did. Chris Evans, his touchdown catch. I thought you guys really did a great job with changing tempo, getting the line of scrimmage so quickly. And they had a zone blitz on, and they've got Karlaftis, trying to cover Jamar Chase, and Jamar basically literally ran him out of bounds. Karlaftis is like, I gotta shadow this guy. I can't give him any iota separation. And they were, responsibilities with that zone blitz. Everybody's pointing, and and then all of a sudden here it comes, and they forget about Evans, and 2 guys jump on the tight end, and there's Evans for a touchdown. That was a great call, and caught them in probably one of the defenses that you'd like to catch them in, where there's normally a lot of communication that has to happen.
Yeah, that's what we try to force teams to do. And when you get a chance to change the tempo out of the huddle, put guys in different spots, make them adjust, and have to do it with some rapid intensity, teams tend to make some errors, especially if you don't do it a lot. You use it as a change up, and just like any baseball pitcher, if you're throwing heat all the time and you're letting people look at it and see it, it sometimes can be easy to hit. So we try to change our tempos and throw a knuckleball in there every now and again and see, make sure they have something else they have to react to. And putting Chris, we were kind of in a hybrid bunch set, and put Jamar in the backfield, and Jamar and T were on the same side. So they got to find their man and find a trend, and they got to cover it, and they got to get their blitz set. And Chris did a great job running the route, and really there was nobody there to cover him. And Joe delivered an easy throw and catch, and to Chris's credit, he doesn't get a ton of reps. For him to step in that moment and execute that play, score a touchdown is huge for our offense, and that's what we count on our role players to do for us, and he did a great job.
I thought Kappa played another outstanding game, and there were times where he's one-on-one on Chris Jones and hanging in there, getting it done a little bit. I'm not saying that he couldn't have gotten help, but he was handling it by himself and didn't really need help. Though he's playing, I think at such a high level. I'm kind of he's kind of my unsung guy. I'm trying to get him some Pro Bowl recognition because I think he's playing at that high level. I think the whole offensive line is. I think it's 5 playing as 1, but he's kind of catching my eye a little bit. But Garrett, man, it seems like Jones was a 10-sack guy. Garrett's a 10-sack guy. Everybody's got a 10-sack guy for crying out loud. Yeah. And Garrett, the play like you talked about in the first game, you're on your 10th play of a drive where Higgins is open in the red zone and Garrett tips it and they get the interception. Be a son of a gun. If he doesn't tip that thing, who knows what happens in that football game. But Myles Garrett is a guy that you're going to have to pay a lot of attention to, I guess, obviously.
There's no doubt. I mean, him and TJ we get twice a year, and they're 2 of the best rushers in football. And then Myles is playing at an extremely high level right now, and he's going to be considered one of the best rushers in NFL currently, and probably when he retires, maybe in history when it's all said and done for him. So he's a fantastic player, and we got our work cut out for us, and our tackles do too. And I agree with you, Lap. I think our most importantly, our 5 guys are playing really well together. But I do think that Kappa and Karras, both of those guys in particular, are probably deserving of some recognition outside of you and I. I think those guys have played really well. They've all played better and better each week.
Right.
But I do think that Kappa and Ted have both put themselves on the map for, what should be some more recognition than they currently get.
Well, looking at last week's again, Kansas City, they were a plus 18 in sack ratio. That they had accumulated 35 sacks and only given up 17, and the game's over. Bengals are plus 1. Bengals had 2 sacks and only gave up 1, and that one was, Joe kind of manipulating with the clock, trying to get that 2-minute warning. And
yeah, that was a situational sack. He could have been more aggressive to throw it, or we just didn't want him to throw it away, and we probably screwed him up a little bit because we're trying to tell him to, hey, make sure we get this to the warning and be aware of the clock, and then all of a sudden it kind of throws him off. But
right.
I thought he did a great job of managing it, and that sack's not anybody else other than us trying to manage the clock. And that wasn't like, he held the ball for a while there. It wasn't like we got beat quick and took a sack. So
right.
I know it counts on the stat sheet, but it shouldn't count.
Is the offensive line from beginning of the season to now, because of injuries, they weren't able to do anything in training camp. Everybody was nursing some injury, and Cap and Collins in particular, they're playing so well together now. The fact that you knew they were good players, they'd proven it, but they had to play together again, 5 playing as 1. Has that position group probably experienced the biggest improvement from, the first 2 games of the season to now?
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's a fair assessment. No, obviously all those guys that played well all the places they've been. That's why we signed them. But you add in a rookie left guard and 3 other new starters on the right side, and between the center, the right guard, and the right tackle, and there's as you know, and guys that know offensive line play, it takes some time to work together in concert and learn how to communicate together and work together in combinations and work together in stunt pickup and pass protection. Those things take reps and time, and there's really no substitute for that other than playing football games. You can practice it all you want, but you got to be in the heat of the moment to form those relationships and form those bonds up front, and communications and knowing what guys are like on game day is much different than what it is like in practice. So we're remarkably improved, I think, and I think they're playing as good a football as any offensive line in the league, and we're going to have to keep that up for us to keep stacking wins.
So turnover is the biggest scenario in football, no question about it. You're plus 2. That's in the top 10, tied for 10th in the NFL. Only 12 giveaways, tied for 5th fewest. But 5 came in the first game. So in the last 11 games, just 7 giveaways. 0 in the last 2 games, in the last 8 quarters. And the first matchup, 2 takeaways, 2 giveaways. It was even Steven. Is that, like always, going to be as big a factor as anything?
Yeah. It's a huge reason why we've been able to win 4 straight is we've taken pretty darn good care of the football, and we emphasize it. It's part of every Wednesday morning. Justin Hill, our running backs coach, gets up there and presents all the issues that the team that we're playing has had, where their turnovers have come from, and then shows a bunch of clips from around the league of guys doing the opposite of what we teach everybody to do. And it's a heavy emphasis for us because it wins and loses games. And for our guys to go out and execute the way they have, especially the ball carriers, those guys have done a great job securing the ball in traffic and not giving it up. And our defense, finds ways to take it away. And obviously our Burrow has put the ball in safe places for most of the year outside of a couple of spots. And he's had a couple freak turnovers too, which, when TJ Watt jumps up and intercepts you twice, I don't know what to tell you, but
right.
And he's had some tip balls that have gotten intercepted. So we're just playing really solid football on offense, and we're doing all the things that you want to do to make teams, make teams have to beat you and not give them a game. And I think that's a huge part of winning in December and January, is making teams beat you as opposed to giving them chances to. And we obviously like to take as many chances from the other team as we can too, and our defense has done a good job of that.
Coach, can't thank you enough. Appreciate you giving us the opportunity to visit here. Boy, your football team is looks like it's peaking at the right time, and that's what you always look for. Start playing that best football in November and December, and man, to knock the Chiefs off 26 straight wins in the months of November and December. Now you beat them in the regular season last year. It was January. 26 in a row, and that was the end. That was sweet sugar, Coach.
It's always fun when you get to do that, and we got a lot of football left to play and a lot of good teams left to face still, and hopefully we're at the end of the year. Everyone's talking about how great we played from here on out, and that's what you hope for. You want to finish strong, and the start doesn't always matter as much, but definitely want to be a team that finishes strong, and I think we're headed that direction. And like I said, we got some big games still to come, and a lot of football left to play, and excited about the challenge ahead of us.
Appreciate your time. Go get a big division win, sir.
That's the goal. Thanks, Lap.
At First Star Logistics, we're a very strict company that really puts the pressure on our employees. Breaks? What are those?
That's what I'm talking about, Icky. Get the body right, then the mind's right.
Gotta get that body right.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Become a star with a chance to earn the highest commission percentages in the industry as a freight broker agent. Check out firststarlogistics.com.